First off, may the 4th be with all of you. Okay, second, I have been working on some animations and some other stuff that's supposed to go for the animations, but the only thing is none of that is ready to upload, so instead I'm going to be talking about some of my OCs, and then there's also another OC that a friend of mine made, who I will also be talking about. So this is just in the meantime while I could get some other stuff ready. And besides that, some of these characters are actually going to appear for one of my map parts that was meant for somebody else's map. I think the person's name was Emberwolf49. I'm not sure, but I'll leave the link to the video in the description. But they hosted this map, and the song is Boy in the Bubble. Okay, so these three cats here are some of my warrior OCs. They're all related, and their names are Pebblenose, Cinderlight, and Stoneheart, as you can see from here. They have a pretty interesting backstory. It's kind of long for the three siblings, but I'll try to see if I could try to speed up the story as much as I can. So, as far as I know, Stoneheart is the oldest of the litter, and then afterwards, I think it might have gone Stoneheart, Pebblenose, and Cinderlight, but I can't be sure. So, in other words, they were all born in the same litter, but the only problem was, for some reason, Pebblenose and Cinderkit were born a lot smaller than Stoneheart, and their names at first were Pebblekit, Cinderkit, and Stonekit. I don't know, their parents must have been obsessed with rocks or something. So their parents were concerned about Pebblekit and Cinderkit, but the medicine cat at the time, whose name is Sandyfur, another one of my OCs, she told them not to worry that much since they were still pretty young, and that they would probably catch up in size within a few weeks since there didn't seem to be any other problems with them. But their parents didn't really take that in as an accurate answer, so they ended up focusing on them a lot more than they did to Stonekit, which caused some unnecessary neglect, and unfortunately this caused some anger issues within him. So with that, it ends up, at first it causes him to have some anger issues, but then eventually those effects just eventually snowballed into something a lot greater, so he becomes one of my favorite villains, honestly. While then these two sort of become goody two-shoes. This isn't something that he was actually born with. This I'll be explaining since it's going to be part of the map part. I got parts 7, 8, and 35, but for these two, I know for sure I'm going to be using those two characters for parts 7 and 8. But, okay, so he wasn't born with this, just saying. This part wasn't on him, but I'll be explaining that. So that's pretty much what happens. Eventually they turn into apprentices, and these two are known for being goody two-shoes. This guy teams up with another one of my OCs, whose warrior name ends up being Mudscar. But since they were all around the same age, including Mudscar, it ends up being Mudpaw and Stonepaw, who are sort of the troublemaking duo. And then these two, Pebblepaw and Cinderpaw, end up becoming the goody two-shoes of the clan still. And his mentor wasn't necessarily physically abusive, but let's just say his mentor had very strong morals about the difference between good and bad. And he took his training on him, he took it on to a point where it probably, again, wasn't necessary, and he would constantly criticize and compare him to the other siblings. And there was a point where Pebblenose, Pebblepaw at the time, he was doing so well with this training that his mentor thought that he might actually be able to earn his warrior name a few moons early. And this was kind of a tipping point for Stonepaw, because, well, he doesn't see how his two siblings they didn't really do that much to get to the place that they are now, and yet somehow they have so much more attention than he does, even though he believes that he did absolutely nothing to get to the place where he was. So this was kind of a turning point for him. So at one point, he ends up leading, he tells Pebblepaw to meet him out of camp And what ends up happening is that a fight breaks out between them. At first, Pebblepaw was mostly taking in blows, and because he wasn't necessarily strong, but he was very agile, so he was able to dodge stuff very quickly. And if he couldn't do that, then he would just take in the blows. But at first, he didn't plan on attacking Stonepaw. And just in case if you're wondering, Stonepaw was actually going out to kill him. He wasn't doing it just to scare him or anything. He wanted to get rid of Pebblepaw. He couldn't take in his brother anymore. And well, it went down to the point where Pebblepaw knew that if he didn't do anything, things weren't going to end up well. So he ends up telling Stonepaw that if he doesn't stop, he's going to start attacking. And Stonepaw pretty much goes out in an emotional outburst, starting to tell him about all the stuff that he had to go through the past 9 to 10 months, which is pretty much how old they were around the time. And in the end, he ends up clawing him. Well, okay. It's kind of a complicated thing. But apparently he has been training in the Dark Forest, or not necessarily the Dark Forest, but the equivalent of the Dark Forest for my series. And so at that point, he has been taught how to use a killer blow, but he doesn't aim correctly, so instead of aiming for his throat, it ends up going across his face. But it was enough for Pebblepaw to get launched back. He gets hit by a rock, and it causes the broken jaw. Or, not broken, but twisted. So, Stonepaw doesn't necessarily kill him, but he knocks him unconscious, and he believes he has done enough to teach his brother a lesson, because now, once Pebblepaw gets turned back to camp, he cannot become a warrior anymore. A lot of cats think that he can't become a warrior anymore, so he becomes a medicine cat apprentice instead. He doesn't earn his medicine cat name for a while because his training started very late. So, yeah, his siblings pretty much go on with their lives, and they kind of start separating from him. Even though Cinderlight was still very close to him, she started having to focus a lot more on warrior duties, and she couldn't focus on her brother anymore. And then besides that, she also had another cat to worry about, which I'll be explaining right now. So, back when Cinderlight was a young warrior, her brother Stoneheart tried to find a mate for her in order to get on her good side. Unfortunately, nobody seemed to interest Cinderlight from the clan. But that doesn't mean that she didn't find anyone. This right over here is Badger. Badger is one of my friend's OCs. He's probably really big. That's because he's a cat-wolf hybrid, but he looks a lot like a badger. So that's where his name came from. So with that being my friend's OC, we still have this giant story about how these two have this forbidden romance. And unfortunately, both of Cinderlight's siblings find out, and she gets two completely different reactions. Her brother Pebblenose, seeing as if he doesn't exactly agree with the morals of the clans these days, he approves of their relationship and in fact encourages them to keep it going. He's gone as far as to trying to protect them on many occasions from anyone trying to figure it out. Stoneheart, on the other hand, reacts to this very negatively. He doesn't like the fact that his sister is going against the code, and he believes that it was created for good reasons. So now that apparently Cinderlight was known as she was known as one of the goody two-shoes of the clans, and now apparently she's getting into this relationship with someone outside of the clans. He wasn't even in the clans. He was probably considered a loner or a rogue. So Stoneheart didn't really like it. He didn't tell anyone, but he took advantage of Cinderlight because of this. Eventually things got a little bit stressful between them, and it went down to the point where Stoneheart was threatening and blackmailing Cinderlight to end the relationship, or pretty much or else. So it went down to the point where she eventually leaves her clan. She goes with Badger, and they pretty much run away. As far as I know, Badger used to be part of a pack of wolves, since he's a cat-wolf hybrid. So these two, they ended up running away to his pack. And while then at the time Cinderlight was expecting his kits, who I haven't drawn yet, but they end up being born a few days after they arrive, whose names are Smog and Storm. Again, I haven't drawn them yet, but I might make a video on them soon, since they also have a little bit of a story as well. And just to prove that I've been doing a little bit more than just drawing certain characters, I've also been working on the Boy in the Bubble map parts. But the thing is, they wanted a work in progress before the actual map part, so I'm working on that right now. But this is pretty much how I do it. I draw it all out on paper. I'm also going to be using the back side probably, but the front side's just going to be for the quote-unquote normal parts, and then over here it's going to be for the quote-unquote line art parts. You guys will understand what I mean once I'm finished with the work in progress, but that's probably not going to be for a while. These two are Pebble Paw, that's Stone Paw, and this is pretty much happening right before they start fighting. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I have to show you guys today, but I just hope that everyone out there is really taking care of themselves, especially during these times, both physically and mentally. Well, I'm gonna try to be posting some stuff, hopefully, so that, I don't know, I like posting stuff since not only it helps me, but I feel like it also helps you guys sometimes, so, yeah. I'll try to post some stuff at least once a week, but until then, I'll see you guys probably next weekend.